What's up, Guardians? Profane here. Thanks for checking out the video. The Slammer is the newest in a long line of legendary swords that's been introduced into Destiny. This new Stasis Sword was released earlier today and is available through the weekly Nightfall reward rotation, with adept versions dropping only from Grandmaster Nightfalls. There was a great deal of hype surrounding this weapon, with its inclusion of Eager's Edge and Bait and Switch. I've always been a big fan of the Zephyr Stasis Sword myself, so the addition of a new Vortex Stasis Sword has been an exciting prospect. But is this new sword worth your time? And how does it compare to other swords in its class? Well, today we're diving into these questions and I've got answers. And off my first impressions, this is a pretty awesome sword, but not for the reasons that you might think. I see the sword being an excellent weapon for ad clear and crowd control, even a great weapon to use against champions when in lost sectors and nightfalls. But I think ultimately, when you look at this weapon's damage potential, there's going to be so many other better options, most notably the Lament. But honestly, we're not really in a meta that even facilitates a lot of high DPSing swords. Grenade launchers and rocket launchers are still going to be a better option in most boss scenarios. With that said, there are a few weapon perk combinations that this sword offers that could still make it a pretty good fit when you need a legendary sword against Crota, or some of the other up close and personal bosses that are spread out through Destiny's dungeons and raids. I do love the artwork on this sword. I would have liked to have seen something other than a remodeling of previous Vortex swords. Even still, the Slammer does offer some unique benefits that you won't find with any other sword. This does include the Vanguard's Vindication and Stunning Recovery origin traits, which will grant health restoration. It's not a lot of health that you get at once, but it can still be immensely beneficial as it adds up. Like any other Vortex sword, the Slammer has two different attack options, a light swing plus the whirlwind attack, which needs to be performed when its meter is full for the maximum benefit. That heavy attack charge time can be reduced with the use of the Lucent Blade armor mods. There's a few solid blade options with the Slammer. Honed Edge and Tempered Edge are the two that I would recommend, as these increase the impact damage of each swing without reducing your ammo. If you can manage to keep generating ammo though, then Jagged Edge would be the best option for maximum damage. Swordmaster's Guard is a second column perk to keep an eye out for, as this will reduce the base cooldown time of your charged heavy swing. I've had the luck and fortune of playing around with several different versions of this sword so far, and there's a few standout perks in both columns. The third column offers Attrition Orbs, which would be great to pair up with a fourth column perk called Bait and Switch. Attrition Orbs will generate an orb after sustained damage, which could instantly regenerate weapon surges during longer engagements. Eager's Edge is of course going to be one of the big traits that players look for, since this will help you move around a lot faster, which is crucial in those speed runs. But I think the big perk out of the third column is Chain Reaction. This has an interesting interaction with stasis weapons, as it creates more of a shattering effect, and it will absolutely wreck a big group of enemies, even when performed with your light swings. This also becomes much more beneficial when you add in Dragon's Bite, Pillar of Ice, and Hail the Storm, which are all seasonal artifact mods. In the fourth column, we have a long list of solid options, and I think the big two are Coldsteel and, like I mentioned earlier, Bait and Switch. Bait and Switch, of course, increases the damage of this weapon after dealing damage with all three weapons. So the best way to make use of this would be by hitting an enemy with your other two weapons, then hitting that enemy with a light swing, followed up with a heavy swing. This way the heavy swing will get the advantage of the Bait and Switch. I had the opportunity of testing both Coldsteel and Bait and Switch against Pharazia within the Grasp of Avarice. Both versions of this weapon put up around 1 million points of damage, which does seem pretty low, and it is in comparison to grenade launchers and rocket launchers. This test was done without the use of any artifact mods, but it did include a Well of Radiance and 3 Stasis Surge mods. with the use of bait and switch, paired up with a weapon like the Wither Horde, and a strong energy weapon like the Cartesian Coordinate or a shotgun, we could see those numbers get a little bit higher, making bait and switch the obvious winner in terms of damage. But I think in the end, it was Coldsteel that stood out as the most beneficial perk in the fourth column, because with this, you're able to stun Overload and unstoppable champions. Charged Vortex swings instantly freeze and shatter enemies, allowing you to deal a lot of damage to those champions and other mid-ranking enemies that you'd face in a lot of lost sectors and Nightfalls. I could see this sword being a tremendous asset to a Revenant Hunter using the Renewal Grasp, or to a Titan using the Stronghold. Since the Slammer does offer permeability within its fourth column, I could see this fitting very nicely into a mixed energy build. Like I said earlier, and like we've seen, even with bait and switch, this weapon's overall damage is pretty lackluster, at least against bigger bosses, but the Slammer is still able to provide extraordinary benefits with the right setup. And it's to that end that I think if you're a player who loves swords, if you've loved the Zephyr, then the Slammer is going to be everything that the Zephyr was and more. So be sure to get on this week and grab yourself this amazing new sword. And with that said, I wish you all the best of luck throughout your journey. Let me know how it's going in the comments down below, and let me know your thoughts about the Slammer. Thank you as always for checking out the video. If you enjoyed and found it helpful, then be sure to hit that like button below, along with the subscribe button if you're new. Both are greatly appreciated, and both really do help support the channel. If you're a new Light Guardian just starting your journey, or a battle-hardened veteran just looking for a new home, then be sure to check out the Discord link in the description below and join one of the greatest communities in all of Destiny. And until next time, Guardians, this has been Profane, wishing you all some happy hunting.